tomorrow? Oh, what's it gonna be like tomorrow? Mm.
What's it gonna be like tomorrow?
Mm. Will we be able to sit together at the welcome table, and will we have peace of mind, and will this nation be good and kind, and will we ever learn live together, man and woman, the boys and girls, the black and white next door to each other, and learn how to treat every man like a brother. Whatever come, my God, I said, will it ever come? Tell me, I said, my Lord. Yes, sir. Come on in, y'all. Come on in. Tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Alexa, volume 7.
I'm not worried about it, no, no, no.
Cause one of these moments it won't be long. You're gonna look for Leonard and he'll be gone. I'm going up there to sing and shout, and nobody there is gonna put me out. I look up David in the heat of the day, tell him to grab his harp and begin to play. And I know my role is gonna fit me well, cause I tried it when I was on my way to hell. I said, Lord have mercy. Hey, hey. Hey, Brother Kevin, how y'all doing? Dr. Jones, I'm hoping you're feeling better, baby girl. Thank God for each and every one of you coming on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Did I say welcome? Welcome, welcome. Hey, Anna Davis, how you doing, boo? God has been good to us. God can be good through us. We're blessed and highly favored, blessed in the city, blessed in the field. We're blessed when we come and when we go. And just want to get everybody ready. Welcome, welcome, welcome. WTLD, WSLT, WKVQ, the gospel from me to you. Our brothers and sisters all over this land, particularly our brothers over in FCI Jessup. Amen. Thank God. Yes, sir. And we're just happy to be happy up in here. Up in here. God's been good to us. And now I'm dedicating this show to, if you see the topics. The topics are this evening. The topics are black women and conscious critical thinking. Black women. Now the reason that I Saturday I had to talk about black women, this Black History Month and event, is because the events of this week have me focusing on black women. Whenever I hear, and I want y'all to hear this, I want you to hear this with your big ears, okay? when you hear Nikki Haley, and I know some of you talking about you might consider voting Republican and stuff like that, but Nikki Haley is supposed to be a bit more moderate Republican than Donald Trump, and she is. But even Nikki Haley, I want you to hear this. And this is a part of that conscious critical thinking. That conscious, actually, in other words, making sure that you're thinking while you're criticizing, while you're critically looking at the circumstances and events that encompass us in our day-to-day as well as in our macro centric life in the world, in time, in history. Now, I want you to get this even in the minutia and in the magnanimous. I want you to catch this concerning black women in particular. Black men suffer too, but I want you to listen to Nikki Haley, who says that America's never been racist. And she says it, and as a person who has studied human behavior, as a person who has been steeped, I am a trained listener. Okay, that's a degree in psychology. Is a part of it is that you're trained to listen, not so much to talk, but to listen, to observe human behavior. And of course, that means listening to what people are saying, because what comes out of a person's mouth, based on the Bible, comes from the person's heart. So, watch this. So Nikki Haley can say emphatically, unabashedly, unashamedly, that America's never been racist. When 20-some of the 50-some people who signed the Declaration of Independence, we know, were major slave masters. The gentleman who sold the 436 slaves, who put the 436 slaves up for auction in Savannah, which is still, in my opinion, the largest sale of slaves in American history. I think these others that they're talking about have not been corroborated nor documented to the point where it's changed my mind, and my research is saying much of it might be smoke. But nevertheless, watch this. I want you to hear this. But Nikki Haley, former governor of the state of South Carolina, former ambassador to the United Nations, says unabashedly, unashamedly, and in terms of being able to say that she really believes what she's saying, she believes what she's saying when she says it. As a person who observes human behavior, and generally, I take it specious when people lie to me and think. I have difficulty with people thinking they can lie to me and think I don't know they're lying. I take umbrage, exception to the fact that someone might think. Now, people do, but nevertheless, and I play crazy. So they walk away thinking they got away with it. But when this woman is saying this, she's saying this out the city of her soul. She said it on that dastardly, utterly ignorant guy's radio show, Charlemagne, called herself Charlemagne the God. You are a fool to call yourself the God. Okay? And I am not going to call you Charlemagne the God. I'm going to call you Charlemagne the fool. But on a black show, listen to predominantly black people, she said it unabashedly. But more concentrated than that, when she says the name Kamala Harris, I want you to listen to this. And the fear that Joe Biden won't be able to finish his next term, listen to the venom wherewith she says Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is going to be your president, and she's angry. She is utterly angry. She's beside herself. Hey, Charlotte. Hey, Thelma. And so many more. I can't do a lot of how y'all doing today's. Not on this one. I'm sorry. Black women is the subject. Black women. First of all, we wouldn't be no place without black women because there wouldn't be no black men without black women. But I'm not even talking about physically. I'm talking about in terms of their manhood. Now we've got a lot of weak black men. Don't let nobody fool you. We got a lot of weak black women. Don't let nobody fool you. But the men that we do have and the women that we do have, many of them can say a lot of what's in them came from black women. So what are you saying, Pastor? Well, watch this. The single most courageous figure in the lexicon of black history, and many people have been courageous. Dr. King, Medgar Evers, Hosea Williams, Andy Young, Joseph Lowry. All these are men. But also Sojourner Truth, Shirley Chisholm, Barbara Jordan. And locally, Alicia Miller Blakely, Bernetta Lanier, Keisha Gibson Carter. Oh yeah. Stand up in the storm. Addie Byers. Stand up in the storm. Esther Garrison. Stand up in the storm. Lord have mercy, Jesus. So, I had the privilege of flying to West Africa, to Liberia, many times, landing at Roberts Airport. And from Roberts Airport to drive into Monrovia. Monrovia, the name of it is Monrovia because it's actually named for President Monroe, white fellow, who promoted the repatriation of blacks back to Africa. You know, they say, y'all need to go back where you came from. Well, he sent us back to Africa and founded a nation called Liberia, which by definition means freedom. A place for liberty, Liberia. And when I landed in Roberts Airport, and they met me there at the airport, a convention of folk, and escorted me to Monrovia. They drove me down Harriet Tubman Way. Harriet Tubman, quintessentially probably. And because I don't see people as legends, I don't see people as just stories of fables. I see people as lives that live like I see Jesus hanging on the cross, crucified, nailed, weak, dying, and in pain. I see him as a human being who did not refuse the death, even the death of the cross. So I see him as a human sacrifice who made up his mind he would do this to glorify God and to save our souls. So I see Harriet Tubman as a human being first. And so when I'm talking about black women now, during this Black History Month, Harriet Tubman, born Araminta Ross. Araminta Ross. I know you never heard that Harriet Tubman's name was Araminta Ross. She was born in March 1822. She was an African American abolitionist and a social activist. After escaping slavery, Harriet Tubman made some 13 missions to rescue approximately 70 enslaved people, including her family and friends. Using the network of anti-slavery activists and safe houses known collectively as the Underground Railroad. During the Civil War, she served as an armed scout and spy for the Union Army. In her later years, Tubman was an activist in the movement for women's suffrage, fighting to get women the right to vote. What most people don't know is that black men had the right to vote legally before white women. Born into slavery in Dorchester County, Maryland, Tubman was beaten and whipped by enslavers as a child. Early in life, she suffered a traumatic head wound when an irate overseer threw a heavy metal weight, intending to hit another slave, but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain, and spells from hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. After her injury, Tubman began experiencing strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed as premonitions from God. These experiences, combined with her Methodist upbringing, led her to become devoutly religious. In 1849, Tubman escaped to Philadelphia, only to return to Maryland to rescue her family soon after. Slowly, one group at a time, she brought relatives with her out of the state and eventually guided dozens of other enslaved people to freedom. Tubman, or Moses, as she was called, traveled by night and in extreme secrecy, and later said she never lost a passenger. After the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850 was passed, she helped guide escapees further north into British North America and Canada, which was called Canada at the time, and helped newly freed people find work. She met John Brown in 1858 and helped him plan to recruit supporters for his 1859 raid on Harper's Ferry. When the Civil War began, Tubman worked for the Union Army, first as a cook and nurse, and then as an armed scout and spy. For her guidance of the raid at Combahee Ferry, which liberated more than 700 enslaved people, she is widely credited as the first woman to lead an armed expedition in the war. After the war, she retired to the family home on property she had purchased in 1859 in Auburn, New York, where she cared for her aging parents. She was active in the women's suffrage movement until illness overtook her. She had to be admitted to a home for the elderly African Americans that she had helped to establish years earlier. She became an icon of courage and freedom. Lord have mercy. Dr. Jones said President Biden's age is a factor, however, their biggest fear is that Vice President Harris would become president, the first woman, black woman, vice president. That's just facts. Those are just the facts. Hey, Tanya. But I just want to make sure you understand, it's not just Harriet Tubman. It's not just Harriet Tubman. It is Kamala Harris. Now, this week, I had to stop my work and had to tell people to leave me alone for a minute because I got to see another chapter. And like I said, I've seen black women stand in a storm. Diane Harvey Johnson, Carolyn Brown down in Liberty County. The county commissioner, the tax commissioner down in Darien, McIntosh County. Deanie Frazier. I've seen him put through all kind of trouble and tribulation. Talked about like a dog. And then I saw this week. I took my time and stayed home. I had to fight to stay home because I had so much going on. But I stayed home to watch the case of Fani Willis, District Attorney. Found out a lot about Fani Willis this week. But bottom line is she had put herself on the line. Now, many of you can't do what I do. You just decide I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stop and I'm going to look at this. And some of you are not interested enough to take 4, 5, 6 hours to look at a hearing, even if it's on TV, back to back and wall to wall. But I did. I took the time when I was a little boy. I watched the Watergate hearings with Nixon. I watched the hearing where they was to ratify Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court. Sad as that is. So I've watched these types of things. I watched the Iran-Contra hearings. Well, say, well, I'm not interested in that kind of thing. You need to be, because it can affect you. What they're doing in the politics of America today can come home to your house. It can affect you. Almost want to cry because there's family right here, right now, in Savannah, who the decisions of presidents and senators and generals, those decisions have us mourning the loss of Sergeant Moffett. Right now, right here, Savannah. And the other 2 soldiers in there. The other young lady from Waycross. 3rd young man from Georgia also. You. So I found out that Fani Willis, that the president and his cohorts had leaked her address. And basically a month and a half after she became the district attorney of Fulton County, she was forced to move out of her house based on threats. She's had to have basically 24 hours a day, as if she's the president, almost like she's got Secret Service. She's had to have private and public security every day, all day, for years now. Her father came to live with her. And I need to take a few minutes for that. Talking about black women in the struggle. Fannie Lou Hamer. Coretta Scott King. Mother King, who was assassinated because she was Dr. King's mother. Black women in the struggle and what they paid. And this single mother raising 2 daughters who now become 2 beautiful young ladies, sending them off to school and college like she'd gone. But there was one thing that stood out in her testimony, and I didn't realize it at the time. She would use a term in such a way as to as to really, really prick my heart. Over and over, she would say, "My daddy." Over and over. Listen, I am a trained listener, and because I listen well, the trends that jump out at me, and she would say, "My daddy." The reason I did this because my daddy said my daddy wouldn't leave, and I left the house, but my daddy wouldn't leave. He said he wasn't going, and didn't leave. And I said, "Well, God, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy." And my daughters, I have two daughters. I have two daughters and a son. Two biological daughters. One homegrown son. Ain't no difference. Don't fool yourself. Now watch this. I got other daughters that I picked up from just showing up other people's children who are attached to us, but nevertheless. And other sons, but nevertheless. But watch this. I got two daughters and they say, "Daddy." Talk to me about my daddy, my daddy, my daddy. Even when they talk, "But daddy, you know so and so and so." If they're talking to somebody and we're on the phone and they turn and they say, "Well, who you talking to?" "My daddy." And the way they say it, they're saying it all the way to the nth of their being. And I listened to Fonnie Willis and talk about her daddy and how her daddy told her to always have some cash. No matter where you go, always have at least, and no matter how high you get, always have at least 6 months of cash money. She said her daddy gonna hear this testimony, and he gonna be mad with her because she don't keep that much. And she told how much she did keep, and because they was questioning why she do things in cash. Well, I could suffer from that because I do things in cash, and for some of the same reason, my dad and my mama. But when Robin or Adrian say, "My daddy this and my daddy that," you hear it in the city of their souls. They don't mean it just in the head, not even just in the heart, all the way down into their minute crevices of their beings. The other day, Robin came and found me working on a job, doing a little work, ministry work, but physical ministry work. And she brought me this. She brought me that right now. Now, I know you might not be able to read it because I got it every kind of which way. Oh yeah, okay, that might get it. See what that says? Simple words. Daddy. Not reverend doctor, not pastor, not evangelist, not preacher. Daddy. These great women, these strong, forceful women, Harriet Tubman took care of her parents. Did you hear me now? In her latter years. Harriet Tubman, who had been hit in the head with a heavy metal object, who'd go on, it is believed, 13 times back into slavery, back into harm's way, and gone and got folk, ran at night through woods, crawling, hiding all day, scared all night, and then she'd get away. And something inside herself. They said she had these premonitions that she attributed No, God was talking to her. Now, how you know, Pastor? Because I know how that is. I know how it is to have God make you do stuff. Stuff don't make no sense. Make you spend money, time, energy to stand up for what's right, to do his will, to make your call and election sure, to be faithful over a few things, to be faithful over the few days he's given you. So, this woman, this fair Fonnie Willis, came in, and she stood there. Now, everybody was advising that she probably shouldn't have testified. She came in, and she was standing there, and you knew she was mad. You could look at her and tell her she was, and they had watch this. They had been lobbying for them not to be able to compel her to testify. Her lawyers assumed that she would not testify. They'd been telling the judge and the other side, she ain't testifying. She'll answer with written documentation or something. But she'd had enough. She came down and she was standing and they put the camera on her and she looked mad enough to beat up the judge if she needed to. There was time for her to go up there and get on the stand. She was walking with the determination of every black woman you've ever seen decide this far and no further. That's enough out of you. Say it one more time. Just say it one more time. I'll give you that same look that Mama had when she was saying, I'll give you something to cry for. And she just got through beating you and you got to be quiet. Now, watch this. And she got on the stand and she pushed and she told them and she corrected them and she was forceful and she was strong and she talked to them like they talked to her. And some black women, I said it, and some black men said, she didn't have to come in there like that. When you've never stood up, ever. When you've never spoken up, ever. When you never would have gone back and got some more out of slavery, ever. When you never would stand up and say, don't do this to our people, ever. You've never done it. And you're a man. And I'm hearing black men say, I don't know, I like Trump because he's strong. You a dummy. You got a wooden head and a brick for a brain. That man hates us. The Republican Party hates us. And they got that goofy Tim Scott over there, and he skinning and looking at Donald Trump in the face, I love you. You love. Well, Master, we sick. Master, how we doing today? Master, is our house in good shape? Master, ain't you glad the way I fixed our garden? Master, you know I picked a lot of our cotton today. Black women have stood in the gap. Representative Waters, Maxine Waters, called out Trump as flat-foot as anybody ever did. Everything he gave her, she gave him back twice. Knowing that he got them MAGA fools prepared to do all of us harm. They surrounded Fonnie Willis's house. They gave out her home address. Now, watch this. Because I am an observer, and remember now, watch this. I want you to catch this now. Because I am an observer, I observe the dynamics of the room as well as the idiosyncrasies of the individuals. So now we're having a hearing in 2024 Georgia. Donald Trump and his fellow indictees, his fellow defendants in this criminal conspiracy, this RICO, this continual criminal enterprise that they had concerning the election. You look at the room. Donald Trump and his cohorts, nobody had a black lawyer, not one. The two lawyers defending Fonnie Willis were white. The judge was white. The exception in that room was the stenographer, a court reporter, I believe she was black. And the guards, deputy sheriffs and such, they were black. But you talking about a white room on Trump's side? You talking about a white room on Trump's side? Oh my gosh! Let me go further. And then they called former governor, and a nice man because I met him, Roy Barnes. Roy Barnes is a very, very cordial person. Very easy to talk to. Very fun. He even complained about the fact that he was the governor under whom the battle emblem of the Confederacy was removed from the flag. But when he walked in the room changed completely. It was all good old boys of America. How you doing? Hey, good to see. Haven't seen you in such and such a time. The whole atmosphere changed. And you're right, Betty. One of the things that disrupted their thought pattern concerning the case was the fact that they thought she'd simply given the lead counselship on this investigation of the president to Mr. Wade because he was her boyfriend. That was the concept. Except for the fact that she'd offered it to Governor Barnes and at least one or two other people. But to prove it, she just brought Governor Barnes in. And Governor Barnes confirmed. But let me say something. See, if you've not been in the civil rights thing, if you've not been trying to find lawyers to help us fight for what's right and what's just and what's fair, if you've not had to do that, then you don't know how to appreciate the difficulty of getting lawyers to go up against the system. I've had to do it. I had to try to find lawyers to fight for the family, to get some justice, and never did. when a policeman unceremoniously killed Mr. D. Charles Smith over in West Savannah. We went from lawyer to lawyer, from lawyer to lawyer, from lawyer to lawyer, from lawyer to, and when we finally did get a lawyer, he did not stick with us. When we finally did get a black lawyer, he didn't stick with us. When as a result of the demonstrations concerning Charles Smith's murder by the police, we had to go out of town to find a lawyer. Couldn't get one around here. Ask. Went to lawyers whose names you would know, but I don't need to make enemies, so I'm not gonna call them out because it's almost water under the bridge at this point. But we couldn't get one from here. So the fact that she asked around and finally got this lawyer named Wade, who's been a former judge, who she met when he was teaching courses about being judges. They're talking about he's not qualified for, you can't do this, he can't do that. Okay, he may not have had all the experience you would want, but he must have had enough heart because he took the case. When I know because I got friends who are lawyers who would never have taken a case to go against Trump. They don't even want to take a case to go against the city for the weeping time. How you know, Pastor Small? Because we talk to lawyers, black and white. We talk to a gang of lawyers. Somebody said, well, why'd you pick Kevin Goff when he'd been on that trial with Ahmaud Arbery? Why don't you really get the truth on the Tell It Like It Is show? He was just about the only one who would take it. And that's the gospel facts. I'm telling you what God loves. I'm telling you the truth. And he's fought just like I knew he would, because I knew him before that case took place. I know about him fighting for poor women trying to get their kids back after they did everything the system told them to do, and they still wouldn't give them the kids back. And he fought those cases for free. All over South Georgia and in Chatham County. Now put that in your pipe and smoke it. He's fighting right now to save some black folks' land down in Vidalia. And he's fighting to save our heritage over here in West Savannah. And when I say fighting, well, y'all paying him change compared to what he charged. Bus money, basically. Not car money, bus money. Not car fare, not scare money, bus fare. So, all I'm telling you is there's some black women, and anytime, and listen, don't come in my face talking about with Kamala Harris this and say anything negative. Kamala Harris is on the line. She's up on the wall. Well, I don't think she's good enough to be the president. You dumb as a box of rocks. She don't have the experience. Nobody has the experience before they become the president. There is no job training. Even being in the Senate, even being in the House of Representatives, being a governor, does not prepare you to be the president of the United States. There's no, help me, Holy Ghost, there is nothing that can prepare you to be the leader of the free world, the commander-in-chief, the chief executive for the largest, most powerful economy in the history of mankind. That's what America is. And we've got women on the wall Fani Willis and Tish James, the Attorney General for the state of New York, who this week won for the citizens of New York and the United States a judgment against Donald John Trump of more than $450 million. And now you will find out that he's broke. Because nobody in their right mind, with his reputation and the stuff he's lost, is going to give him an appeal bond. Because once you lose the suit, you have to either put the money with the court, all of the money, the 400 and some million dollars, you have to deposit it into the court, or you have to find someone that will sell you a bond. And if they sell you a bond, and it's 10% on the bond, that's $46 million you got to pay for the bond. And that still does not preclude that if you do not prevail at the Court of Appeals, that you will not have to pay the rest of that money. The money is going to be paid, or all of your stuff got to get sold. Some of your stuff, if you got enough. That's the way that goes. Dr. Jones said, some people believe keeping quiet keeps peace. However, it magnifies the problem. And it does. Don't let nobody fool you. Power does not concede without some degree of force. Power simply does not surrender. Hey, Elder Green Brian, good to see you, son. Love you. Hey, Parks, y'all be blessed. But I'm talking to you about the struggle of black women. Tish James in New York, the Attorney General in New York, Fani Willis, the Attorney General in Fulton County. And they came at her with everything they had. And she said, I do this because this is how my daddy would taught me. This is what my daddy said. This is my dad. And so every time she said that, I went, oh, shoot. Sound like Adrian. Sound like Robin. My daddy, my daddy, my daddy. And many of those other young people who have attached themselves to me down through the years. And then they called her daddy. Fani Willis's father. They called him to the stand to corroborate the things that she had said. And he talked about how his daughter had him come and live with her. How he tried to retire and live in South Africa. He'd been an international attorney. He'd argued cases, one of the longest court cases in the history of the world, 4 years long. 4 years long. A case concerning Africa. He's one of the few blacks, particularly African Americans, not black, but one of the few African Americans to ever argue a case before before the World Court at The Hague. Fonnie Willis' father, Mr. Lloyd, was a criminal defense lawyer who raised her in both Washington and California. His name is John Clifford Floyd III. He is an extremely experienced attorney, world traveled. And I say world traveled and having world significance. He had decided, because he's a world traveler, he decided that he wanted to retire and spend the rest of his days, the rest of his life, in South Africa. He said that when his visa ran out, for some reason, they decided they didn't want to let him stay there. And I believe you can attribute that to the fact that he fought and that he fought and battled against a political regime in Southern Africa, the Southern African region, not South Africa, the country, but particularly in Rwanda. The old man was, I can't tell you, when Fonnie Willis repeatedly the day before talked about daddy this and daddy that, daddy this and that. His name again is John Clifford Floyd III. And so when I talk about these courageous black women, I'm also saying, men, we have a role to play in their lives. We have the utmost duty to these daughters. His father, as a young man, her father, was a Black Panther. Did you hear me now? That's right. He's a lawyer now. But he's always been involved in the struggle for human dignity and civil rights. This is Fonnie Willis' father. But listen to this. As a young man, Floyd participated in sit-ins at segregated lunch counters in 1966 in Memphis, Tennessee. After a sneering white man spit tobacco juice on top of his head, he decided to take a more confrontational stance. He joined a faction of the Black Panther movement in 1967 in Los Angeles. He renounced violence and enrolled in UCLA to study law after two Black Panthers, Bunchy Carter and John Huggins, were shot and killed in an altercation at the Black Student Union meeting. Floyd remains very close to his daughter, and Willis said they speak by phone 10 times a day. She repeatedly called him daddy on the witness stand Thursday. Daddy. Daddy, she said it over and over. What I just read to you came from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution story on the matter. Black women. Kamala Harris, Tish James, Fonnie Willis, Deanie Frazier, Diane Harvey Johnson. I'm not going to get them all. Addie Bias, Esther Garrison, Mamie Small Williams, Elizabeth K. Bell, Madam Cargo, Ruby Williams, on and on and on. Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, and all the wives of those who have been on the line, who you never got to the headlines. Mrs. Andy Young. These people I met. Mrs. Hosea Williams. Mrs. Joseph Lowry. What shall we say to these things? Who shall separate us from the love of God? The question is, and this is the crux of the matter, for me, Nancy Pelosi can need enhanced security at her home and in her day-to-day life and stay there. If Hillary Clinton can take all the verbal abuse and belittling that she's had to go through, if Barbara Jordan, Maxine Waters, if Miss AOC, if the other women who are part of the progressive movement in the Democratic Party, if they could take all the vitriol and all the asinine statements, if Joe Biden can take being hated like he is all day, every day, if Jesus Christ could take nails, if Peter could be hung up upside down and crucified, if Medgar Evers could be shot in his blood, be running down his driveway, if his wife can go out there and try to wash it all up before the kids come home and see it, if a young man could be shot at this week by police officers over in Middle Georgia, his car riddled with bullets because a policeman thought the boy was shooting at him because he parked his car under an acorn tree and some acorns fell on the car and the policeman started shooting and other policemen who came up started shooting, and you could see them changing clips and keep shooting. The boy said he laid down in the car and prayed, and he never got hit. And yes, bullets went through the car. Car tore up. But maybe it was because a mother prayed. And since I've come of age, I understand how scared my mother must have been when she let 11 and 12-year-old Leonard go down and go to the rallies, get arrested, and they take me to the juvenile center. Maybe I can understand that my brothers Arthur and Nathan were in the juvenile center also. And my mother couldn't take it no more and came and got me. And I said, Mama, why you came and got me? And you gonna let them stay in? What a sacrifice. Last week, my mother turned 102 years old. Black woman. Black woman who worried about her children. Black woman who allowed her little so-called bright, smart son, even though he was kind of bad, some call it precocious, allowed him to walk into Savannah High, 2,400 students, about 24, 26 blacks. On his birthday when he went from 14 to 15. But she knew someone's going to have to do it at some point in time. And she understood that he decided a few years before that, at 10 or 11, that he would go with Cousin Macon, who was integral in the NAACP, and put signboards on his body, one on the front, one on the back, with a little strap across his shoulders, and walk up and down on the picket line in the South, in Savannah, Georgia, where folks would shoot at us. But they didn't, bless God. And so she knew when it was time to go to Savannah High with, and then to Armstrong, and stayed in the struggle, with black women being more than cheerleaders, but examples. And wise. In the 60s, my mother and several other women put together a group called the Savannah Beauty Culturist League. I don't know if they're still in existence today, but they put them together. And they decided to take certain stands. They brought Coretta Scott King here and was instrumental in getting Dr. Martin Luther King to come. And the air was so wise. And a young preacher had just come to Savannah. Most of the preachers were a little shy, a little scared, a little nervous. But this young firebrand had come and taken the church on the corner of Gwinnett and what was then called West Broad Street, he was instrumental. That same young preacher fought and got that street changed to Martin Luther King Boulevard. And those women, having been successful in lobbying to get Dr. King and Coretta Scott King at different times to come to Savannah, understood the dynamism of black male suppression, even compared to overall black suppression. And they said, who could we get to say he was moving, he was leading this? So we wouldn't look like the women running things. We wanted to make our men strong. And they went and got him, and he was strong. Benny Mitchell was strong. And in the papers, and in the news, the history books, what little is written of it might even mention that Benny Mitchell brought them here. But actually, it was black women. How you know? I was the little spook sat by the door. I could hear the conversations. I learned from those black women, those strong black women. Rosalie C. Stevens. Yeah. Lorraine Bryant. Strong. Theodosia Buckner. Celestine Ward. Strong. And I could go on and on. Nevertheless, make sure you understand. It does take both men and women, but I'm telling you, it bothers me sometimes to see them put in harm's way Fonnie Willis had to move out of her house. She's not been able to live in her house for 3 years, almost 4. She's received death threats. She's been called everything but a child of God and that N word. And I really want to say it plain, because I don't want to take the stink off it. I don't want to give them the excuse that they can hide behind it because of nuance and innuendo. The enigmatic disregard for her sacrifice perplexes me to no end. The fact that so many of us really don't care, are not concerned, do not apprise ourselves of these facts of the matter, that this woman, this single mother with 2 daughters, is in harm's way, and we have no real concern. And we have the cavalier stupidity to say, well, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And then you say that enough times, and when they need to find an ignorant black person to say something stupid, they can always find us, because we have not had critical, conscious we have not had conscious, critical thinking. The reason they had such a hate for critical race theory is because it was a conscious attempt to understand the enigmatic, aggravating, consistent, chronic, and deadly cancer that has plagued America to this moment. Don't let anybody fool you. Trump wants to be king, not president. And if he gets back in, and he's already showed you that he would not want to step down the last time, what would make you think that he would step down this time? Get in the game. Stand up, speak up, show up, register to vote. Call lies, lies, truth, truth. And I'm going to say it before I close. Any black person voting for Donald John Trump is an extremely ill Uncle Tom. Any black person. And if it's a woman, your Aunt Thomasina. I said it. And if anything I've said this evening has besmirched your sensibilities, discombobulated your comportment, thrown off your desire to live in peace and harmony in the world, if anything I've said has bothered you at all, I don't care. And I meant every word I said. God bless you. God keep you. Here's our prayer. We getting out of here on tomorrow morning on the same platform. We'll be having our Sunday school. The Lord be our help. And following that, our regular morning worship service, where I expect to call heaven and get a word. God bless you. I'm gone.